Welcome to something that let's see if we can fix this mic. Is that better? Oh yeah, welcome to another edition of Beyond the Noise, where we do everything we can to get past just overarching ideas and surface information, and we try to get to the depth of what's really going on so we can have some solutions to some of these problems we come to. I have some amazing guests on today's show, and today's show is brought to you by Speed School. Speed School is our Level 1 digitally enhanced performance program by PE Graysoul, the round-faced Mexican girl. Please tell them what Speed School is.
Okay, so Speed School is the online digital version of the foundational things that we teach the kids that come into the facility, focusing on proper running mechanics, things like butt kicks, high knees, and really tackling the details of what's important to take throughout their different sports. And then we take it up a notch by making sure they understand how to apply that to acceleration, to deceleration, and then lateral movements as well.
So if you have a kid that's running around with two left feet, I encourage you to grab our digital online program, Speed School. If you want to know a little bit about it, just shoot us a message in the comments, and we will make sure we get you all the information that you need. Kenny, before I start today with these guests who are going to show these young, beautiful black coaches how to maneuver and navigate through this NCAA process so their careers can flourish, I want to tell you a story, brother. Now, I attended Texas Christian University, and it is very near and dear to my heart. TCU afforded me opportunities that I know for a fact I never would have got had I not been able to attend that school on their dime. So I have nothing negative to say about my beloved university, nor the amazing teammates that I had. I want to say that first. With that said, there was a story that came out about 10, 11, maybe 12 days ago, where the chancellor of TCU, one Victor Boschini, received an email from a young lady, shout out to Bailey, I think it's Betic, who was a former student on campus. Now, from my understanding as chancellor, the most important part of your job is understanding the situation with your student body. Okay, so she sends an email about are they going to take down some of the Confederate statues? But she put out a list of demands or things that they would like to have seen from previous years that was discussed, and why it was important, or why she felt it was important to possibly do something about these statues and these monuments and the things that have a representation of the past of maybe injustice, prejudice, or racism, and whatnot. Now, I am not taking this position with any feelings involved. I am looking at, and if anybody wants to know about it, I mean, you can pull it up you can Google it, or you can look on Twitter, the conversation they had via email. So a young lady sends this information, and he writes back. And in his writing back, he was extremely dismissive and deflective. And that happens, okay? But he said something in this email that has been weighing on me for quite some time now. In his response to her, he used these words, and I quote, "I am only one person. There is only so much I can do." And in my opinion, based in everything I understand about just leadership, the moment you hold a title like that, where you are responsible for many people, and in order to avoid or dismiss the outcry or the demands or anything of your student body, at that moment you relinquish your opportunity to be called chancellor. Because at that moment that you are just one person, there is only so much you can do. You forgot that your title allowed you to do so much. And I think the number one lesson in that was you should listen to your student body so people aren't on the air talking about you. Now, the second part of that is something that really, really bothers me, in the fact that dismissive apologies, when someone says, especially of that stature, says, so she made a reply basically, so I can give you some background. She made a reply to his first remark and how important it was for him to face these things. And she was very, one-sided on it because she was making demands, and that's quite all right. But he said, "Oh my gosh, Bailey, I'm so sorry you feel this way. I'm so sorry you feel this way." And he also went on to say, "Now I further feel like you are trying your best to bully me into your viewpoints." Now, the one person who can actually adjust or conduct or even push change decides that not only is he just one person, there's only so much he can do, but he feels like he's being bullied by a former student. I want everybody in the world to know that that is not a quality representation of what I believe leadership was. Yes, he is. But to be so dismissive and to be so deflective at a time like this when all you want to do is be heard before things are being adjusted, that really bothers me. And I want him to know, and Bailey to know, and all my teammates to know that, now that some of you know, just know it ain't going away. And we're coming after you, because I love the university way more than I love somebody who owns a title and is very dismissive in the actions because they don't want to pick a side. You got to pick a side, baby. You got to pick a side on morality. It's that simple. With that being said, I have a list of amazing coaches who stand on integrity and stand on morality. And they are all a part of the MCAA. Ladies and gentlemen, this is part 2 of the MCAA conversation on about the roadmap for coaches, minority coaches specifically, and how to maneuver in this NCAA world and all these opportunities that are coming up. So with us on the show, I have one Miss Jasmine Player, who is an assistant coach at Kansas, and she has spent some time with LMU women's basketball, and she has done everything from coaching to recruiting, coordinating. We have her on the call today, who plays a major role in MCAA. You guys are going to say, what is MCAA? What is MCAA? I'm going to let them tell you all about it. I have one Miss Ashton Washington on the call, who is the Director of High School Relations at the University of Illinois. So right there are 2 big-time Division I programs and 2 young aggressive sisters who hold titles in those programs. And then the last person on the call is one Mr. Ja'Cory Greer. He is a defensive line coach at Texas State and also had a chance to play for one of the members and the founders of the MCAA. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 members of the MCAA. We have Mr. Ja'Cory Greer, we have Jasmine Player, and we also have Ashton Washington here with us this evening. How's everybody doing on the call today?
Very well, very well.
Good.
Fabulous.
Coach Player, I want to go straight to you. Okay? You're at a big time program. You're hanging out with a guy that is a good friend of mine and a heck of a coach, one Mr. Brandon Schneider. I want to know, Coach, tell me about the road to get to where you are today, and why basketball, and what do you plan to do beyond that spot?
Well, I've been playing basketball my whole life. It's weird when God gives you a gift, everything just starts falling together. I started playing really young, and then suddenly I started growing at around the same time I started to love the sport. So I knew that it was what I wanted to do. Graduated high school, Bay City, Texas. Went to Baylor University.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold that against you.
4 years. Hey. No, I'm sure you don't. We played at Baylor under Tim Mulkey 4 years. It was a tremendous experience for me. Love her to death. Graduated from there. Played overseas for 2 years, and then I realized that I really wasn't into playing in Europe. So I went and started coaching at the University of Maine. One of my coaches at Baylor had taken the head coaching job at Maine. I'm from Texas. Took that job. I was there for 2 years and decided, hey, I'm not done playing, and I want to play until I can't anymore, because at some point I won't be physically able to. So went back overseas for 3 or 4 years, had a great career overseas, spent time with the Atlanta Dream here in the States, and then my body told me, you're done. I listened. Spent 2 years back in Maine. From there, I went to Loyola Marymount in LA, had a great year there, had a postseason run, Last year was my first year here in Kansas. The reason why NCAA is near and dear to my heart, I knew I wanted to coach at the Power 5 level, and one person who was very close to the organization, who Archie knows, Aqua Franklin, was actually, she's now the head coach at Lamar. She was working at Kansas, and I've known Aqua my whole life. We're at the Final Four, and Aqua comes up to me and says, hey, would you make the move? And to her, she was, making a business move, but to me, Aqua opened the door for me. And of course, Brandon had a lot to do with it, but at some point, Brandon asked Aqua, who do you think would fit this role? And Aqua said Jazz would be great at it, and Aqua made sure, Aqua recruited me, won me, and then she left, but Aqua has a lot to do with, not only Brandon, but Aqua, another, minority coach in the business who's on the rise, who I'm connected to, helped me get this position. And so now she's gone on to bigger, better, greater things, and she pulls me up a little bit, and I always respect and appreciate her for that.
You know what, Coach, I'm gonna come back to you because you said something that I think anybody who's listening, especially coaches, need to understand that gap between going from player to coach and then making an adjustment back to player. I want to come back and touch on that because that's in my opinion that's important according to the calls for MCAA. It gives you a chance to be seen as something other than a player. Ashton attended, from my understanding, from what I just learned, the oldest university in Austin, and it is a historically black college. Houston Tillerson. Am I right about that?
Yes, sir, you are correct.
All right, what brought you as a director of high school relations there at with Coach Lovie Smith and his staff over there?
So with that, I like to call it the in-person LinkedIn, so mutual connection.
Right on.
So with me, big people person, with this, I never approach a situation or these connections with the response of, I need a job, I need help. It was more of building relationships, like I said, that in-person LinkedIn, having a mentor-mentee relationship. And it started off with Coach Joe Price. He was at North Shore High School. So with me, I was with 24/7 Sports and, scouting high school recruits and writing up stories on camera, off camera, things like that. So that was how I met Coach Joe Price at North Shore and built a relationship there. And then I guess we've most knowing, North Shore state championships. So it's a big program and a big place to recruit.
Right.
And so with that being said, he ended up at the University of Illinois. And like I said, during that time we were talking with him, meeting with him, never knew he was going to Illinois, right? So he gets to Illinois. He's in my position now, Director of High School Relations. And he, again, has me, I guess you say, meeting the staff up there. So I'm meeting the Director of Recruiting, which is still Director of Recruiting now, Patrick Embleton. And he's just, again, building that relationship, building that in-person LinkedIn with Patrick. And then from there, keeping it up, Coach Price gets a job at UTSA, and he's the Director of Player Personnel down there. So he's back home in Texas. And again, there's an open spot at the University of Illinois. Not with my name written on it, right? Not, nothing automatic just happened.
Right.
But again, with our relationships, I lost my job. Let's be honest, I lost my job at the XFL. I was working for the Houston Roughnecks. And, from there, I'm back to the drawing board after that. So 4 good months with them, and now we're like, hey, what's next? But I always knew I wanted to be in college football. So I get a text from Patrick, and he says, hey, Ashton, can you send me your resume? And this was, just a normal text again from one of my connections, and a couple other connections sent me text messages, whether it was in college football or not. But, send me your resume. I'm going to try my best to help you. And, with my guys on the board, my board members on the NCAA, same thing. Everyone's, reaching out to help or lending that helping hand.
Right.
And so the next thing I know, I get an email from Coach Lovie Smith's assistant. It says, there's a Zoom call set one-on-one with you and Mr. Smith or Coach Smith at, I don't remember the time, but it said that. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my, like what's next?
Yeah. Wow.
So I get on that call with Coach Smith. I'm sitting there one-on-one, me and him, and I'm thinking in my head, who in the world am I? I'm talking to the legendary Lovie Smith. If you do football, you know.
Yeah.
So It just went from there, and with him it was an interview, and I guess you could say it took off.
Well, I'm going to come back to you as well because you said something that like I keep holding on to. So you took your original gig towards North Shore when you were doing the reporting and the field stuff, and you parlayed that into an opportunity of understanding of how to relate with those players. Am I right about that?
You are correct.
That's a story in and of itself. And then I have Coach Greer, who I know was coached by Archie McDaniel, who when I was a defensive assistant at A&M, he was a senior linebacker and he was a heck of a football player. So, Coach, talk to me about how you ended up on his staff.
Well, don't hold that against me.
I won't. Don't worry.
I like to say I had him in his good years.
Yeah.
But no, Archie was a fantastic coach. I played for Archie my last 2 years at the University of New Mexico, and I didn't honestly want to coach. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a lot like Jazz, where I wanted to play until I couldn't play anymore. And once that opportunity surpassed, he called me and told me to come and GA. And so I GA'd at the University of New Mexico for a year under him and Bob Davie. And after doing that a year, he left and went to SMU. And I went with him to SMU for 6 months as a graduate assistant. And I took a leap of faith and kind of did my own thing after that. I had a Division II job opportunity, and I took it, and I was there for 2 years, and it was a hard experience, but it was an experience for me that I needed to learn to kind of earn my own stripes and to prove to myself that I could do it. And I had the faith that, that I wasn't going to get stuck, but at the same time that the lessons and the things that I would gain from that would be, priceless. And it was. Yeah. And so I was there for 2 years. I left there and then got an opportunity to go to Abilene Christian with actually Tremaine Jackson, who I know was on the call. I worked for Tremaine for 3 years, and then got to link back up with here at Texas State with Archie. So it's been a great experience. I've got to do a lot of different things and go a lot of different places and kind of have to stand on my own. But I've had great support, and it's been a fun ride so far.
You were on that staff in New Mexico with Charles McMillan, huh?
Yes, sir.
Coach Mack, man. Coach Mack is one of the best DB coaches I've ever been around. He taught me.
He's a technical, tough little joker.
He's something else, ain't he?
But he gets after it, though. He gets after it.
What is he doing now?
So he is the head coach of a private school in Houston.
What he always wanted to do.
Yep.
Shout out to Coach Mack.
Yep.
Wow.
And so his wife was a head volleyball coach. She's talented within her. I mean, she's won state so many times. And but yeah, he's the head football coach at a private school.
I gotta catch up with my guy. Coach Player, let's go back just like we talked about. You went and you coached in Maine, and then you went back overseas to play. Can you tie that together? Because all of you guys have mentors in the coaching position, in the coaching space, that whether you know it or not, you wanted to coach or wanted to be in that position that you're in now. They kind of guided you or almost prophesied the direction that you were going, but you doing something interesting that I think ties into the Minority Coaches Advancement Association. They have to understand the gap and how to maneuver. So talk to us about that experience, Coach.
Well, I think that when you, and this is me doing my job in recruiting, but when you pick the right people to play for, very much like, Archie, what he's done is, when I was in college, people started speaking coaching into me. I never thought that I was going to be a coach. They saw that in me before I ever saw that in myself.
What does that mean? What do you mean speaking coaching into you?
Oh, I'd be in practice and they just, somebody random like, hey, you going to coach one day.
I got you,
and I'm like,
They start calling.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And, I'm watching film and they're like, it's not normal for you to, want to be in here watching watching film at 19 when there are so many other things you could do. This means something bigger.
Right.
And just planting seeds, just all the time. It was always something. I never thought about it, but they were planting those seeds. And so when I graduated, I went overseas and I'm hooping or whatever, and one of my old assistants just called me out of the blue and was like, hey, so I'm about to take this job in Maine. I want you to come with. And it made no sense for me to take that job. Like, it's in Maine. I've never coached. I can still play, but something tugged at me. He didn't try to convince me. It was nothing. It was something in me was like, do it.
Wow.
And I followed my gut and I did it. And he was, and because I knew and I loved him and I played for him, when I decided that I wanted to go back and play, he also supported that. So that's when it comes to, make sure you go to the right institution with people that love and care about you as a person, because he knew my value as a coach, but he also knew my first love as a player. And then when I was done playing and I wanted to get back in the business, he hired me again.
Right.
So I just had the right connections with the right people, and the right person in him, who kind of made sure I was in alignment with, always with what I wanted, but had the bigger picture in the back of my mind. And now I actually specialize in recruiting internationally. So me going back to Europe for those couple of years made sense, because that's where I spend all my time today anyway.
That's how you tied it back. That makes so much sense. So what is your, tell the crowd, tell everybody that's listening, or anybody that's listening, what is MCAA? Let's remind everybody. And then I want to know your role as a director or board member with MCAA, and then there's an event you guys have coming up. I want you to speak on that briefly, and then I'll definitely get back with your other two coaches on the line.
So I'll first speak to what NCAA is to me. And when Archie called me and he said, Jazz, I have something that I think it may fit you. I just want you to get on a call with some like-minded people who I believe are in alignment with what you believe and the way you move in your career. And Minority Coaches Advancement Association just made sense. And again, you have to be around people who know you and want to advance the sport and the culture, because he called me at a time where I was in talks of taking a head job that I didn't take because I didn't have anything like NCAA to advance me.
Right.
And so, although I'm on the board and I help with recruitment and finding, young coaches like myself to get in and learn more about how to be ready, I need this time to help me be ready and help prepare and Archie also told me, well, Jazz, you're never really going to be ready.
Right. That's a great point.
So he's pushing me both. I'm telling him, he's respecting the fact that I'm saying, look, I get one shot. There's a very small, under 20% of African American women head coaches on the women's side. I want to make sure that when I get my shot, I'm gonna kill it.
Makes sense.
I'm gonna be prepared for it. So now I can. The NCAA, we're offering mock interviews with athletic directors. We're putting us in rooms with athletic directors and like-minded coaches who can help just through networking.
So
I have a little brother, and I told him the other day, you better get on, you better sign up for whatever we're selling, because you need it.
Right. So basically, when you say being ready for that shot, MCAA is literally preparing coaches through mock interviews, through understanding what the outline will look like, through understanding the patients, through the necessary steps. I wanna let the crowd know. I mean, I'm blown away by how quickly these steps are being taken in such a short period of time. We are here with Coach Jasmine Player. We're here with Ashton Washington, and we are here with Coach Jacory Greer. Now, Grace, you got any questions from the crowd? You got any questions yourself for any of these three before we go?
There is not any questions, particularly from anybody right now. I think they're just kind of trying to get a
Take
feel.
It all in, yeah.
But I do have a question. I guess it could be open for anyone. More towards the women, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like, how often do you see other young women or athletes even take interest in MCAA, and what is y'all's role in helping them not just find a place where they feel comfortable, but helping them to see like they don't have to look like the other guys in the room. Because I looked at the board member page, and you guys are one of what I think last time I said 3 or 4 women on there. And I guess in a place that I stick out of as well, I guess I'm just trying to understand. For the first 3 years, I learned from Greg, and then he exposed me to other really awesome women. So I understand at this point how important it is to see other people that look like you, so that you can have that kind of confidence or that push to believe that you are where you're meant to be.
Yeah, I actually want to take
You
that.
crushed them with the question, Grace, so they don't know where to go with it.
Look, Jacory, I was asking you, you passed back to me, okay?
Well, she said she wasn't a woman, so Jazz, go ahead. You can give me a...
It could be anybody.
Well, I really think this is an asking question because she's making trends and she's setting pathways in football.
Right.
I was like, okay.
And really everything.
Pass it back. Okay.
You confused with the question. No. Go ahead, Coach.
I'd say overall, like Jazz just said, with trailblazing in football.
Mm-hmm.
With me, I've never seen anyone that looks like me, I guess you could say, in the rooms I've been in as far as football coaches and football scouts. It's always been men. And, to come into that room, I always go back to my favorite quote by Maya Angelou, world famous poet, is I come as one, but I stand 10,000. So every time I come into the room, I'm standing as Ashton Washington, or Coach A, as everyone's calling me now, but I'm coming in as 10,000 other women or other African American women, right?
Yep.
I'm setting the tone. So like I said, I've never seen anyone that looks like me. That's just my personal experience and my personal outlook on it. So I want to set that tone for other women so they can see someone that looks like them or see someone of that same sexuality as them to be able to say, hey, I can do this. I can go after this dream. I can make this happen. So I feel like for me, it's been hard. I haven't always had, easy routes to get here or, always, never heard no. But I made it happen. I never let anyone steer me a different direction than the direction I want to go.
So what you're saying is, and I want to make this clear for the crowd, you are saying that when you enter the room, although you are one, you are speaking for all the people who are trying to maneuver in the same space that may not have stepped out or may not know what direction to go, but you have an understanding that your position with you in it is much bigger than you. Is that what you're saying?
That is absolutely correct. It is way bigger than Ashton Washington. And it kind of goes back to the fact that, I made history at the University of Illinois. So as the first woman, or the first African American woman to be on the full-time staff, the full-time coaching staff. And so, taking that, it goes back to that book called Lovely Smith. He never told me, Ashton, you're making history at Illinois. He just said, hey, Ash, this is the position, assistant coach, director of high school relations. This is what you'll be doing, and it just wasn't there. I didn't find out I made history until I Googled myself, and it was like first female, and I was like, wow, okay.
Right.
And then, just being an African American woman and being in the sport of football, I'm already coming in, going 10 times harder.
Yeah.
But now I got to go 100 times harder because now the trailblazer is hot in my game.
You took the question away from me. I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to say, were there ever times that people brought up to you that you're going to be the first this or the first that? But it seems as if it was just on your merit, on your grind, on your work, which Lovey has, 8 black coaches on the staff, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
See, Lovey has quite a few black coaches on the staff, and I'm making that point to say these things. Good coaches hire coaches that they trust, people that understand what they're trying to get accomplished, and people that fit in their coaching culture. That is the direction, from my understanding, good coaches go. So for you to have that opportunity is much, much bigger than you, because no question, that's based on your merit. And now you stand as a woman in the room, but you got there as somebody just damn good at what they do. So that makes so much sense to me. I'm a big fan of that. So with that, what is your role with MCAA, and how do you make it effective for other minority black coaches, black female coaches who are trying to step out in these positions or positions of power in this infrastructure, especially at this time right now? So what is your role with MCAA?
So my role with the NCAA is director of administration. And, I like to say the director piece is we're all directors of something. All our roles have something inclusive to make it, make this thing happen or keep this thing on the roll. So with me, it's basically helping anyone that needs help. I guess you say, I help everyone from statutory data. Whatever they need, I got you. And then for my own, I guess, section of my job, it's pretty much, handling anything behind the scenes, again, that needs to be done. Creating new ideas, creating graphics as needed. I feel like I'm a jack of all trades.
Right.
So that's pretty much the sum of what I do. It's a little bit of everything.
Gotcha. Coach Greer, I got a question for you, man. I've been thinking about this for quite some time. Football is a testosterone-filled, intense situation in practice. It is in the meeting room, and it is on game day. And now there is a definite conscious shift on the way that players are being communicated with, especially black players. Let's call it what it is, because we've dealt with quite a few things over the years that we just dealt with because we thought it was hard coaching, or things that we didn't really say much about because of what place it may have come from. But now you're in a position to where everything is, you feel like everything is monitored, and you want to stay away from the eggshells, but at the same time, you don't want to break eggs. So what is it, or how, as a black coach, is it now in communication with all your players, as well as your coaching staff, and trying to get the staff to understand what times we live in and what changes are being made? Or does that question make sense?
That's a great question. For me, just based off of how I was coached and how I was brought up in it, the number one thing has always been you have to establish a relationship with your players. And I don't care what level you're on, your players have to be able to trust you, but they also have to be able to love you. And I tell every recruit, every parent that I talk to, I'm gonna get after your son, but I'm gonna love your son a lot too. You know what I mean? And Abilene Christian was a great testament for me for that, because I was there 3 years and I did with everything from a kid's father committing suicide, a kid, small things where a girl broke up with him and he doesn't know how to act. But
right.
Just all kinds of different situations. Coming here now, I've been here for 5 months, and I'm still establishing that love and that trust, because that's something that takes time. And as a coach, certainly as a young coach and a new coach, a lot of the times we lose sight of these kids are still 19 and 20 years old. And so we have to be able to establish that relationship, and ways of doing that is, obviously having an open door policy, being in constant communication, not just about football, but about their life. And, and that's how I was taught, and it's been pretty successful for me, just as a position coach, where my kids always tend to play hard, but they always tend to maximize their ability even when they're not that talented.
Right.
Because they love you and they're going to give everything they have for you.
Let me ask you this, Coach. It's because football is the ultimate team sport. I mean, that train don't go without all those pieces going in the right direction. So in today's climate, how are you having those difficult conversations with the white players on your team, just for understanding? And how would you guide a young coach who's up in the game, maybe GA, maybe coaching at a lower level, maybe a rookie coach, a young black coach, when dealing in today's time, being able to control his emotion as well as give truth in a professional arena? Like, how would you guide that, or how would the MCAA help in that arena? Because that is the direction of the world right now, and it ain't changing until real change has been made. So we have to
So
stay
sure.
professional.
There's a level of professionalism to whatever you do.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, though, you have to be able to establish right from wrong. So when wrong occurs, you have to be able to. And I loved it because we had a saying for it. We called it was okay to have positive disagreements. So when something wrong happens, you have to confront it head on. And this, what's going on in our world today, obviously it affects us all. It affects coaching. It affects many jobs and careers and everything we do. But it's presented an opportunity for us to be able to do that. So to answer your question, yes, we've had those meetings, not with just our white players and our black players, but everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We set them in a room. We kind of cleared the air of, this is what I'm dealing with. Well, I didn't like it when you said this. And in doing that, it creates just an atmosphere of love, to be honest with you. It creates an atmosphere of understanding. And it's not going to be perfect. We tell those guys that our white players and black players, they're going to make mistakes along the way. Mm-hmm. But we have to understand why we're talking about it. We have to understand, the correct way to speak to each other and move forward as well. And the same goes for our coaching staff. We have those conversations as coaches, and we've had coaches come up to us and, hey, I got this issue. How do I deal with it with this type of play? You know what I mean? And that's okay. We prefer you to do that than you go in and guns a-blazing and not understanding or not knowing how to handle something.
We have with us Coach Ja'Cory Greer with Texas State. He's defensive line coach there at Texas State. We have Coach Jasmine Player, who is assistant coach with the Jayhawks, Rock Chalk Jayhawks. And then we have one Coach A. Ashton Washington, Director of High School Relations there at the University of Illinois. And all three of them young, black, aggressive coaches. Coach Player, I got a question for you. How many black head basketball coaches are there for female basketball in NCAA?
Well, I think that, now let me get on both of my high horses right now. I'm talking, and now the good thing is Archie's a good guy. So whenever we had this conversation, he actually realized and recognized that, dang, guys, like not only are y'all fighting for black women, but like y'all are fighting for women in general.
That was my next question.
So a part of the problem is, and I have the numbers, only 18% of the coaches on the women's side are black.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then there are a handful of black men. So now, black women only have, 14, 15% leadership of these women's teams. And I knew it was bad. I didn't realize it was that bad. Because, the truth is the hierarchy on this side is really hiring white men, and then hiring white women, then hiring either black or, black men or women. But the fact that it's both men and women, you don't see women on the football, asking the first one to do that. You don't see women in men's basketball.
Right.
And the one woman that is there is my friend. She's at Maine because the guy who hired me took a chance on her too, and he hired her on the women's side, on the men's side.
Right.
So we're fighting, man. We're fighting all sorts of things, but that's the plight of black women. But statistically, 18% of head coaches in the women's sport are actually black, African American women.
So let me ask you this, because I think it's important also. How many do you see trying to enter into that space? Because you don't really see a lot of black women high school basketball coaches either, unless it's inner city. So how do we get these women who want to coach to hang in there long enough, or to understand how to maneuver the waters, or is that something that NCAA is doing?
So that's something that NCAA is doing.
Okay.
I think that I didn't understand. I'm learning every day as well. So when I was doing my research to find out the exact numbers, because no one had the exact numbers, so I went through conference by conference, team by team to get the statistics. And then I tweeted something, and it was like, it's incredible to me how many women's basketball teams have all male staff.
Right.
Like literally, there's not a female on the staff, and that's insane to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that makes zero sense to me. But then some high school coaches reached out and responded to the tweet, and they said, well, at the high school level, women never want to coach.
That's
so
what I'm
my staff
asking.
is all male.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say, I don't speak about what I don't know.
Right.
I don't know why it's like that at the high school level.
Right.
I do not know. I do know at the college level, women want head jobs.
Okay.
They do not get them.
Right.
They don't get them. For whatever reason, good old boys clubs, whatever it is, we don't get those opportunities, and when we do, we only get one shot.
That's what I was going to ask, because I want to move, but we have to stay. So do they get multiple opportunities to get the job, or is it like one and done, or sometimes they're in a position where it's going to take a while to grow that situation and you really don't have the time necessarily? Like what does that look like? Because if the hiring numbers are small and the entry numbers are small, it kind of leaves us in a position where we have to replant the seed and get the roots a little deeper. Am I making sense? Or is there something that can be done to expand that pool of qualified black female coaches?
And that's what we're trying to do with NCAA, is expand the pool. And the way you expand the pool is that you do everything you can in advancement to make sure that if and when our numbers are called, we're ready.
Okay.
Because you only get one chance.
Okay.
You don't get the opportunity to, I've known non-minority coaches who have lost at place A, that's a Power 5, and then, wasn't in the sport for a little bit, and they pop up at another Power 5.
Right.
That does not happen. A perfect example is Felicia Leggett Law, coach for years, had a stint in Indiana, couldn't turn it around quickly enough, fired her. She was an assistant for years, took a head job at Buffalo. Took Buffalo to the Sweet 16 probably 2 or 3 years in a row. And then everybody started throwing a bag at her. And she's very, very particular about what job she's going to take because she's already experienced how they'll do you if you don't win on your time.
That's what I'm asking you right there, is being able to not just jump at the offer, but filter through the opportunity. So MCA is teaching us how to filter through opportunities.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm asking, because I hate the statement, throw me a bone. I ain't a dog. I like the ribs. I don't like the bone. So.
Yep.
Coach Grick, do you want to be a head coach one day?
Absolutely. That is my end game, man. One day I would love to be able to lead a program and lead a group of men, both coaches and players, to great heights.
Gotcha. So with that being said, as you are coaching and you are working as a member of MCAA, how do you get a pool of young, either high school, black high school coaches or coaches coming out of JUCO? Because you get a lot of high coaches coming out of JUCO, and then you got the GAs coming up. How do you get them involved here so you guys can be a source, can be a guide? Because if it's one thing I know in coaching, you might not be the best coach. You can actually be a bad one. But if you can recruit, you'll always have a job. Right or wrong, coaches?
No, you're exactly right.
So how do you teach them how to push towards strong points and stay in the game long enough to not make excuses so that we are ready for these opportunities?
It's doing that. I mean, it's really being able to network and sit down and talk to them. That kind of goes into my role with the MCAA. I'm the director of membership, so we spend a lot of time reaching out to people that we all know who are maybe young, who are in high school coaches, who are at the junior college level coaches, and once you build that network, it's holding each other accountable. And reaching out, telling them about the symposium, reaching them out, telling them about just a clinic we do via Zoom or anything like that. That's a part of it.
Right.
And then it's staying on them and making sure that they're holding their end of the bargain. And we talk about that with membership of our organization. Is we don't want somebody just to come in just to hold the signs.
Right.
That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for people who are going to affect that change and really see a problem and want to do something about it. And so, it's holding. It really is at the end of the day. seeing a problem and holding each other accountable because of it.
That makes sense to me.
They have a question. So
Go with it.
we have a listener who is part of he owns his own business. He's building a new 1,200 seat gym for Paul Quinn College. He would like to know if you guys have any affiliation with them, with MCAA, and that it is the oldest HBCU west of the Mississippi.
West of the Mississippi, yep. Shout out to that's gotta be Eric. Shout out to
That is
Eric. He owns a construction company and they're building on that site, man. Eric is a good friend of mine, so he asks quality questions.
Yeah, I mean, we currently don't. Like the FCAA and the NCAA are two separate entities. Now, we have people who are involved in both. Like, I know Van is a big time member on the board of the FCAA and that stuff. And so we do some things, kind of together, but at the same time, we're our own entity. And ladies, if anybody want to jump in, if I didn't answer that correctly, please do. But that's just kind of how we go. Now, I would love to get his information, and there might be something down the road. If we can do something that makes sense for both of us, we would love to look at every opportunity for sure.
Awesome. We are here with Coach Greer, Coach Player, and Coach Ashton Washington, who I have been holding these questions for the longest because I gotta know. Did you play football when you was younger? Like as a kid? Coach Washington.
Did I play football?
Yeah, when you was a little kid, did you go outside and play football with the boys?
I definitely did. I'm actually the only girl, so all my close guy cousins, all my cousins are guys, and then I have a little brother, who's 6 years apart, and my daddy likes to say I'm his alter ego. He's the quiet one, I'm the one that talks a lot, but he's quick to push me to the ground and then pull me back up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So with that, yeah, going outside playing football all the time.
Perfect.
I guess you could say a rough little tomboy.
Sometimes it's what you gotta be and what you gotta do. What does your job require? Like what is the description of your job? Let the other, because there are more than just position coaches that are positions of power in this structure. You can go everywhere to recruit coordinator it's multiple jobs in multiple sports offices. So what does your job require?
So my job, I work hand in hand with the director of player personnel and the director of recruiting. Mm-hmm. So we're very close knit. So for instance, I definitely look at all huddle films, anything high school coaches send my way. And a key part of that job title is director of high school relations. So high school coaches, you guys are pretty much my job, right? You guys help my job come to fruition, come to happen. And so with that being said, like I said earlier, you got to be a people person. So I like to say I'm the key part of recruiting, but I don't want to make Pat mad, but I feel like I'm a key part of that recruiting system. Building those relationships in state and state of Illinois, and of course bringing my connections from across the nation to our Illinois coaches, our Illinois staff. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be, like I said, the key part of that entire job is high school coaches. With me, and being at 24/7 Sports prior to this, built a lot of good connections across the nation. And I told Coach Smith, I said, if you need a kid in Hawaii, I got you.
Right.
So with that being said, like you said earlier, they knew what I was capable of and what I could bring to the table, and that's what makes this job more special to me. They know exactly what I can do and what I'm capable of. So
do you and you said you watch film, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so your job is the most fascinating to me because this is just my opinion, and Coach Greer, Coach Player, you guys tell me what you think. But as a young coach, especially if I was a GA and I knew this existed, I would be attached to Ashton Hip because now I understand how to evaluate. I understand what my specific staff is looking for. And I'm speaking the language outside of football. I'm speaking the language to the players outside of the coaching hat. So now I'll always have an opportunity to have a job with some say. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree with that. And with that being the key to the recruiting process, you got to be open to hear, the negatives and the positives. So I've had, a lot of in-state coaches tell me little things that happened during the past, what we can change or what we can help fix. So like I said, you just got to be open to any and everything what these coaches are saying.
Gotcha.
So right.
What'd you say?
Well, I was saying she's exactly right.
Perfect. What, Grace, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for Ashton, my question is like, I would like to consider myself a multi-sport connoisseur. Like, I pay attention to all other sports, and I've probably learned more about football in the last 4 years than any other time in my life. So I guess my thing is, how did you learn how to watch film? Especially like for me, I didn't dabble in football. Like I'm Hispanic, but I played basketball, and basketball was my baby. So when I walked into PE, I had to make everything make basketball sense when it came to changing the type of assessment that I'm looking at. What are you looking at, and then how did you learn to look for those things? And I guess I'm asking this mainly for parents who would like to know what you guys look at when you're looking at their huddle and you're looking at their film. And then what is the biggest takeaway that you get from those?
I love those questions. With that, I learned how to watch film or scout. Like I said, I'm the only girl in the family, so I actually have no aunts. I have all uncles, all god cousins, and one of my cousins, he plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's the quarterback at Tennessee, Josh Dobbs, who played with the Steelers for a while. My brother, that's my little brother, he just signed a Penn State in December. I'm actually in Happy Valley at this moment speaking to you guys. So I know a lot of my Illinois fans are a little upset at me. We'll get the champagne real soon. But, and then Dad, he played at Mississippi State, played at the Air Force Academy, played football. And then Grandpa, he coached at an HBC. So he was a head women's basketball coach and a head men's baseball coach. So I've been in sports, it feels like all my life. It's just been kind of ingrained with me. But with my dad and with my cousins, it's kind of like they've broken it down for me. I still to this day even ask my brother questions about certain things, you know what I mean? Just so I can learn more. You always have an opportunity to learn it. And my thing is always be responsible, always be open. And so with that, that's just kind of how, or what kind of helped mold or shape me into being the ultimate scout, or to keep continuing to get better at what I'm doing. For the University of Illinois, what we look for is what the players can do, of course, on the field, you know what I mean? But that second part of what you make, Coach Smith different to me is what is that kid like off the field? And we don't necessarily go off the 24/7, 4 stars, and 5 stars. We'd rather get a kid with no stars. Because, most 5-star kids, it's not all, but most come in with that star mentality thing that, hey, I got 5 stars, I'm supposed to be here. Right? And you want a kid that you can, again, help mold and help shape and have the ability to be at front on the field and off the field. So that's our main thing. That integrity, that family aspect. Are they willing to be in a family environment? Are they willing to have coaches yell in their face and, push them to go harder, and not necessarily yell in a negative way, but, yell in a positive way to keep them going, keep them motivated to go.
Perfect.
That's kind of been, our main thing. And I have a lot of coaches send me different films, and I will say, again, it goes back to that no-start mentality. We look at each huddle film that's been done. And again, our schedules are hectic, our schedules are busy. I know Coach Player and Coach Rear you could probably say the same thing. Our college schedules are big, busy. So for us to watch every single film, it's a lot. It means a little bit more to be in that aspect.
Makes sense to me. Coach Player, I have a twofold question for you, and be as candid as you like. Knowing that you are literally a different fish in a large pond, what are some of the things, just as a black female coach in the NCAA, especially, in Kansas, you're in the Midwest, in the middle of the Bible Belt, what kind of things that do you have to endure when it comes to you being a female, you being black, you being a black female, you being a black female on a Saturday night in Kansas? What kind of stuff do you you know in that position, in that profession, that you consistently endure, whether it's done intentionally or unintentionally? And then what advice would you give for minority coaches other than keep fighting the good fight, hang in there, who is looking to crack ground or keep them roots deep to allow black coaches their chance as a head coach for women's or men's basketball?
Well, I think this one is interesting for me because the first thing I would say that I make sure I do is I work my butt off. I found a niche, I specialize in it, and I do it better than anybody. And I make sure I do because I know I work every single day to do it.
Coach Clay, I felt it.
I mean, I'm over here shaking my head and grinding my teeth. I was telling some kids that earlier today.
And I feel like, and I believe, I was talking to one of my players today. She said, I want to go to the draft. I said, well, you have to shoot the ball. In order to shoot the ball, you got to get into the gym and work on your shot, and you have to work on it so much that any ball you shoot, nobody better not say nothing to you because they know you put the work in. Now, if you don't know whether or not you're working, and you out here shooting trail threes, we looking at you crazy because we don't know. So my work is visible. Speaks for itself, and if you're looking for someone who specializes in what I do, you know where to go. And I make sure of that. And you can be black, white, Hispanic, biracial, Asian, I don't care who you are. You're going to have to work really hard to outwork me.
There it is.
Period. Doing this thing that I do well. Now, and sometimes, in coaching, we say, do you want to teach kids how to do a whole bunch of stuff and they're okay at it, or do you want to do one thing really well? I've decided I want to do one thing really well.
I know what you mean.
And if you're going to do that, you got to throw everything in that basket, but I have. And that may make me miss out on some opportunities, but if you're looking for this specific thing, there's not many coaches in the country, especially not black women. There are very few that can do what I do, so it starts with work. Now, when it comes to making sure in Lawrence, Kansas, that I know that what I do is bigger than me. Like, I'm an example for the majority black women that I coach. I'm an example, my ancestors, I refuse to upset them. My family name means something to me. So if I move very carefully, the next coach who's going to take this job when I leave it, my job is to work myself out of a position, not into one.
Say that one more
I need to work
time.
so hard, the next person who calls me, I've worked out of it. Not into it. I don't want to work myself into it. I want to work myself out of it. And then when I get to the next one, work myself out of that one too. And so I just want to make sure that I make this look so good that someone says, I need somebody that looks just like Jazz to come here next.
Right.
So I can't mess anything up because I know that it's bigger than me. And not only for the people that are coming behind me, but for the people that I'm coming behind. If that makes sense.
Man, I almost closed the show. I ain't never almost closed the show, Kenny. I don't even know what to say. Hey, who going after that? As a
I'm
matter of
talking
fact.
about basketball in the house.
Right.
So, Coach Greer, what would you give to? Because I was a young coach. Like that story that she told about, she had no reason taking that job. I took a job in Emporia, Kansas, because Andre Bruce, who I played with and who was defensive coordinator, who I trust dearly, gave me a shot. He called me when I was walking down the hallway teaching sixth graders. And like, you want to coach football? I was like, when you want me to leave? And I took a whole lot of cuts, but I learned so much, and it was so great for me. So, Coach Greer, what kind of advice would you give that young, aggressive, just got done playing, has to put on the coach's hat? Well, I got 3 minutes, brother. Has to put on the coach's hat in order to get a chance at that opportunity to maybe be that head coach at a private school, at a D2 school, or at a Power 5?
2 things. The first thing is don't be scared of the opportunity. When I took that job at New Mexico Highlands, like 5,000 people in this little town, it's totally foreign to me. I've only played Division I. I've only had Division I experience, but I'm here at a Division II, and they're talking about partial scholarship. I know nothing. Everybody I talked to said, don't take this job. But I had to lean on myself, and I had to believe in my capabilities to know that if I worked my butt off, I wouldn't stay. And so don't be afraid of that opportunity when it comes. And then the second thing I would tell any young person who is getting into coaching is be ready for the opportunity. One of the NCAA is a great organization. I suggest everybody look at the website. We have a number of ways to get you ready for that opportunity.
What's the website?
But the second thing is talk. Talk ball. Whatever your specialty is, if it's basketball, if it's soccer, use that opportunity to talk about your sport because you learn things and then you don't realize what you've learned until you talk about it.
Wow.
So those would be the two things that I would say to anybody just trying to get into coaching and young and not knowing what to do.
Ashton, you are you're different. You're a trailblazer. You're in a spot to where you're going to decide what the rules look like. What would you say for somebody who is stepping into an unknown position with just fire and love? What would you tell a young black coach, male or female? Actually, no, female, that is trying to get into that football spot or trying to make their way? What kind of advice would you give to them?
I will, one, be open to any opportunity. And two, don't go into the fact where, I want to do this position only because I want to make history. Be in this position or do a position that's going to make you happy when you wake up in the morning. Mornings I wake up, or pretty much every day I wake up, I feel like I'm on vacation. And I'm on calls all day long. My phone doesn't stop. But that's how much I love what I do. The key thing that my dad always told me, and mom and dad both, you do something that's going to make you happy where you wake up smiling. You never want to be unhappy in what you do.
Right on.
It has definitely played a factor in this position that I'm in now. So like I said, pursue something that's going to make you happy, make you smile.
Love it. So where can we find, Coach Claire, where can we find MCAA? Where can we find them on social media? What's the website? Like where can we go?
Info on their, what is it? I want to make sure I word it the right way. I think you guys have it, the virtual symposium that you guys have going on.
Yeah, and you guys also have a symposium coming up soon. Talk to me about that really quick.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Symposium is coming up real soon. It's going to be in July. More information can be found on our website. See, I'm not giving all the details. Just so you can go to ncaa20.com to go ahead and check that out. And that's where you can find our mission and vision statement. You can meet and see more of our board members. And of course, you can learn more about how you can be a member with the NCAA. So that website, like I said, is going to have all that information. And I'm only giving you a little teaser because I want to make you even more excited to want to learn more about what we do and how you can be a part.
Perfect. What's the best social media handle to find you guys?
So on Twitter, it's going to be NCAA 2020.
Okay.
On there again, it's kind of just that back burner or that back help for the website. We push, everyday content on there for you to visit, for you to see on Twitter. I know Twitter is a fast-paced site, and then like I said, everything is on that website.
Right now, I can't tell you guys how much we appreciate you guys being with us. This is the second time we've had members of NCAA come up and show us what direction that minority coaches can go, the opportunities that they can have. I know. And one thing I will say in closing for these amazing coaches, teachers, instructors is they embrace the one ability that, in my opinion, is the most important ability for any human to have, and that's responsibility. And unlike the Chancellor of TCU, you guys are not relinquishing your responsibility to the people in your organization. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. Thank you as guests, and we will see you next Monday on Beyond the Noise.